Welcome. My name is Tracey Stevens, and this is the Healing Point podcast. So thank you so much for being with me today, and I'm going to hand straight over to you to ask you what it is that you'd like to explore with me today.
So in 2023, towards the end of 2023, my hemorrhoids flared up. I think it was something I had for a while, but I was managing it. Like there would be blood in my stools. I'd have sometimes, as in my digestion wasn't very regulated. And I also had sort of identified what foods suited me and what didn't. Meat wasn't agreeing with me. Born into a meat eating family, so I've eaten it since I was a child without really questioning. But over the years, I've also intuitively wanted to turn vegetarian. There'd be phases when I wouldn't eat, and then I'd get tempted or, give in to peer pressure or familial pressure, and lots of different things around it. Anyway, so what happened is I was going to travel to Germany on work in the end of November in 2023, and just a couple of days before I was going to travel, I was constipated for 3 days. There was a lot of pain in my anal area, and I'd never experienced that kind of pain before, and it was just like nothing else I'd known in terms of discomfort, like pain and fear and all of that. And I was also contemplating canceling my trip because I just didn't know how to deal with it. And then I went to see one doctor who was really nice, and then someone else because another doctor had gotten me another appointment with this other doctor in a bigger hospital. And that experience also was very, very, I would say, borderline abusive because of the way he examined me. He wanted to operate. He told me that there was no way out of this, that I had to go in for surgery immediately, and also caused so much pain during the examination process. But fortunately, I'd had a much nicer experience with another doctor who just gave me some medicines and asked me to follow a diet. Anyway, so since then, it hasn't flared up. I've learned how to manage it when I'm mindful with my eating and my movement and all of that. My eating is also directly related to my emotional state and to my menstrual cycle. So that sort of fluctuates depending on where I am in my cycle or what is going on in my life. And so it really depends on what I'm eating, how I'm feeling, and that's where I am. And I'm curious to find out what the root of this may be.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you've managed the physical side of this and are managing this. It sounds like it's a constant awareness, but the root of the problem maybe has not shifted for you, as in if you were just to relax for a moment and eat whatever you wanted, then you're likely to have some sort of symptom. Is that right?
That is right. And there's also a lot of fear associated with food. So even when I'm eating something, whatever it is, I don't eat it with just a sense of freedom and abandon. There is fear attached, and there's also judgment attached because I'm also there's an internal voice which is also shaming me for eating a particular thing or for how much I'm eating. There's a lot of food noise in my mind. And so that's something I really struggle with.
Okay. And that inner voice that you hear, are you aware of where it sits in your body?
I'm sensing, I definitely hear it in my head.
Yeah.
But also in my stomach.
Yeah. When you hear that voice, and I don't know if you can tap into this now, are you aware of any reaction in your body or response to the voice?
There's tension around my shoulders.
Okay.
And it also has an impact on my heart rate. There's an increase in my heartbeat. Yes, there's tension around my chest and shoulder area immediately.
Yeah.
And there's a tightening, almost like a shrinking feeling throughout my body.
And that makes sense to me, because these harsh words and harsh voices, that focus is around food, and by thinking that voice may have been there a lot longer and associated with other things in your life as well, but it may have just, the focus may have just narrowed in on this particular aspect of your life. It may not. I'm just making that suggestion, really, because very often these voices that we hear have been with us such a long time. And we can explore that a little bit. That voice of shame and judgment doesn't have to be there and related to food and digestion and elimination, but it is there for you. I'm feeling like you have to maintain a certain level of control around your food in order to manage your whole body as it lives and moves in this world.
Yes. Yeah, also it's, as in, a part of me just wants to freely eat and not think, and just see food as something that nourishes me. And I feel like it's very imbalanced, my relationship with food, because there's a part of me that is also rejecting diet culture. But then my eating is also not balanced, because I'm listening to what my head is telling me and not what my body needs, because my body is giving me very clear signs of what is even harmful to me when I eat a certain thing at a certain point. Yeah, it may not be a permanent thing, but it's what my body is going through at this point, and what doesn't feel nourishing, what it's rejecting. So the signs are very clear, and I'm also very grateful to be able to sense it. But sometimes I listen to my body, and often I don't.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's very common. I think we all do that at times. We feel what we really, really need in our body, and yet we override it with our head. So what's interesting here is this relationship that you mentioned with nourishment and nurture and food. And if we were to look back at your life when you were small, when you were a child, what was the relationship like with food?
There was always a sense of, I think, fear around not having enough.
Okay.
Not because there wasn't enough. There was always enough food. And it continues to be there. I always fear, and not just for myself, if there are people, I'm always worried that there won't be enough for everyone, and including myself. So I think because of that, I also end up eating more than I want to and more than I need. And I'm also constantly ensuring that there's enough for everybody.
Interesting. Because what I'm hearing there is this imbalance between giving and receiving. And so what makes me wonder about that is, what was it like as a child in your household? So what were your parents' relationship to food? Because sometimes these sorts of ideas come from a generational issue with lack. And lack of food or poverty, and I'm just wondering if that resonates with you or not.
There wasn't really a lack of food. There was definitely, there were financial challenges while I was growing up, but there was always enough food. There was an abundance, actually, also. Yeah, it was always there, but that was not my experience. Also, my mom passed away about 11 years ago. And she also shaped my relationship with food. She loved this, and she was a fantastic cook, and she loved to feed. But also the shame I feel around food, my mother is responsible for that, because she would, as much as she loved to feed, she also tried to control. Even when I was younger, she made me very conscious at a very young age that I should always ensure, even when I was a child, that I should always ensure that I don't eat too much so that there's enough for everyone else. And I also don't eat too much. It was also body shaming, and and I became very self-conscious at a very young age about all of these things. And this is what I was told.
Yes. So this is what has been programmed into your system, really, from a young age. It's not so much about the lack or abundance, it's more about what you do with it. And I suppose what the image I've got is like, here's an abundance, here's a banquet, but you have to control yourself. You are not allowed to, you can only eat this much from that banquet, and you have to be self-controlling with that. So that because if you ate too much, there would be a judgment. If you ate too little, there would be a judgment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really confusing.
Yes.
Because there's somebody who's cooking for you with so much love, and also my mom is constantly asking me what I want to eat and what she should make. And then when I'm allowing myself to enjoy it, there is judgment.
Yes. Yes, so you can feel the confusion, and you spoke to the confusion, because absolutely when we're children, it is very confusing. The messages we're getting, it's like a mixed message there. So was feeding you a part of how your mum showed her love for you?
Yes.
Or was she very loving in other ways?
Feeding me was definitely one of the ways in which she showed love. But that was also something that she weaponized, I think, against me, because it was also because there was so much strife in general, and even between my parents. So she was quite unhappy, and there was an atmosphere of fear that I grew up in, because there was conflict between my parents, and my mother was the more stable parent. My father was lighter, he was happier, but he was also very inconsistent. So I depended on my mother, because she was the only stable parent. And I guess she also didn't know any better, but that made her overprotective about me. So it was very stifling. I wasn't allowed to have any emotions, really, because whatever emotions I had, whether it was fear, whether it was anger, I couldn't express any of it freely to her, because there was always, because she always got very offended, and then nothing was justified. And it always came back to, I do so much for you, but you don't appreciate me.
Yes. And those words are really aggressive, actually. When somebody's taking everything that you say as personally, and they're not really hearing you, then it's quite hard and quite confusing. So this feels like so emotionally, it feels like it's mirroring the food, the control over the food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This picture that you're painting of your childhood leaves me wondering, as a child, you're in a place of chaos. You, to a certain extent, it may not seem like chaos on the outside, but on the inside, there's a certain amount of chaos. Like, what am I allowed to say? What am I not allowed to say? How can I express this without someone taking offense? How can I eat this and be grateful, but not eat too much or not eat too little as well? And how can I show my gratitude to my mother. This is all sort of, it means that the child in that situation is having to constantly work out how to be and how to communicate.
Yeah. And how not to cause more trouble to an already troubled parent, so as to be the cause of as less trouble.
Yeah, to be the cause of conflict.
Yes.
Yes. So you were left with trying to work all this out by yourself, I'm assuming. So how did you cope? What were the coping mechanisms that you think you learnt in your childhood world to walk this path of not creating too much conflict, not being this and not being that, and trying to fit in? Or did you try to fit in, or did you not rebel? Or, you know, how was it living in that environment?
I didn't rebel. I just tried to be the best at everything. I just wanted everyone to like me. I did really well in studies. I did well in everything that I could. So I also learned that that's the only way I would be accepted, and I would earn my keep in some way.
Yes. So you were valued for your intellectual skills and for being good.
Yes.
And finding this path to walk down that sort of was in the middle.
And also I was, everyone around me always complimented me either directly, or they would talk about what a mature kid and what a grown-up kid I was. And it took me, of course, I thought it was a compliment, and I was very flattered, but it took me a long time and a few years of therapy to recognize how that wasn't a gift. But you know, I didn't have the space to be a child.
Yes. And there's your coping mechanism, really, isn't it? It's learning to be sensitive to the unsaid as well as what was spoken. So this leaves me with a feeling that there was just a lot of control, and you had to hold quite a lot of control within yourself.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Where did nurture and nourishment come from in your young life? Or was it not present for you?
It did come from my mother on good days, but I also couldn't enjoy it fully because of fear of, you know, I don't know what could upset her and what could make her angry and how it would be taken away. It was very fragile. There was that. I think it also came from my grandmom, from my mother's mother, who I lived with for a few years when I was between 9 and 11. Yeah, so it did come from her. And I think I learned to give it to myself.
Yeah.
Not to depend on anyone for it. I learned to give it to myself. At that point, I thought I could also earn it by being this good kid and not causing any disturbance in any way to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's still this sense of, apart from maybe with your grandmother, you know, there's an adaptation to how I feel good. And if I can ask you this, were there any moments, or have there been moments for you of complete abandon, as in letting go, of being yourself, of being wild?
Not at all, actually. Yeah. It's something that I'm still waiting to discover. And I have fooled myself into believing that I've had those moments, but it's only been under the influence of some substance. It's not a wholesome letting go. It's influenced by a substance, and that's...
And how does the idea of that because you mentioned freedom before when you spoke about food, and, I don't have that freedom. How does that idea of freedom sit within you? Is it something that you think about, or does it not really come into your world, this idea of just being completely authentic and free?
It's something that I think about all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's something I've been preoccupied with for a while, and it's something that I've been looking for in different spaces, and it's an ongoing work in progress project.
And that's why I was wondering, because often there is part of us that is craving some form of freedom.
Yeah.
Some form of release. Yeah. And just to be, instead of the working, the striving, the having to be focused or on it or thinking about this and that and planning and, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we come back to the hemorrhoids, the idea of blood stagnating, this is basically what it is, isn't it? It's like it's this stagnation of blood in the vessels.
Yes.
And also pressure.
Yeah.
And I always equate, probably heard me say this before, but the blood to your vitality. It's all about the flow of life and everything flowing. So when we bring that idea in and then look at this relationship you have with food, can you see a connection there?
I deeply resonate with that, Parallel. Also, I was reminded of something. My first experience, and this is not something I've thought about or been reminded of in a very, very long time. The first time I saw blood in my stools, and the first time I remember feeling a sense of, pressure and pain and a protrusion in my anal area, which of course I've lived with for years and ignored it, or just, I don't know, told myself that that's how it is, that it's not abnormal, that it's not supposed to be there. I remember the first time I noticed it was when I was around 10 years old. That's the first time I was living away from my parents. I was living with my grandmother and my uncle's family. It was tough because apart from my grandmother, I felt very unwanted in that house. I think that's the first time I experienced being trapped. And also as a child, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have the freedom anyway, but also being trapped there because, my parents were going through a sort of a transition. So I was living there before they came, and then I began staying with them again for about 2 years. I was there, and
Yeah, that idea and feeling of being trapped, not feeling very welcome, sort of gives me that sense that you've got to keep everything holding in even more.
Yeah. And I had no one to share this with. I didn't even tell my parents because I didn't want to burden them further because they already were dealing with so much. Mm-hmm. So, I learned at a very young age to not express and to just suppress. And
looking back on that time, and you think of yourself as 10, and if you just watch that as a picture, that 10-year-old, what do you think she was feeling? What do you think her body and her life felt like?
A crippling sense of fear and helplessness, and a desperation to be seen and to be accepted. Yeah, because I just wanted to be loved also by the elders. And it was again very confusing. Again, that's a little bit like my mother, because they'd be really nice to me sometimes and would absolutely ignore me sometimes. Yeah. So, as in, I didn't have the vocabulary for it now, or I didn't even, as a child, I didn't even have the space to feel, because I was just waiting for the moment when they would see me.
Yes.
And and like me. So I was desperately trying to get the attention, not actively, but constantly making sure that I didn't do anything wrong. Not that I was doing anything wrong anyway. I was just being a child and being around. Yeah. So there was that.
There's a lot in that. An absolute feeling of fear and helplessness, you said. This is that survival mode, isn't it?
Yes.
Looking out, okay, for what's going to happen next.
Yeah. So I learned to be hyper-vigilant at a very young age.
Yes, and I'm just wondering how hyper-vigilant you still are.
Yeah.
How much you're still avoiding that feeling of fear and helplessness by managing everything, or a fear of what if everything it turns into chaos. I don't know, how does that sit with you in your current life?
No, it is a fear I live with, and it is a fear I am sometimes aware of, because it keeps me from doing a lot of things I would have allowed myself to do otherwise. Yeah. But there's always, it's better now, I think, but there's always, I'd rather avoid doing something because I fear the worst.
Yes.
And there's also the fear of not doing it perfectly.
Yeah.
So that keeps me back from, so I'd rather not do something because I'm like, oh, but that's going to be mediocre. It's not going to be great. And I'm my harshest critic. My inner critic has already rejected whatever it is I was going to do. And that really suppresses my creative expression.
Yes. And you used your hand there, like with that grip and that claw there that's holding in. So here you are. You've made a move in your life. You're in a place which presumably offers more to you than where you were before.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, in what ways do you find yourself holding back now you're in this new place? Or if you do, but are there things that you see that you want to do, or things you want to express, but you pull back from those things?
I'm learning to let go, because also this transition is very new for me.
Yeah.
And it's been much smoother than I expected it to be. There was so much fear leading up, because it also means big changes in the way I'm living, in my relationship, and all of that. But it's been so harmonious and smooth, and I've been sensing a fear around how smooth and harmonious it's been, because that's unfamiliar. So I'm constantly waiting for something to go wrong. I'm expecting something to not work out, because I'm like, this can't be real. How can it be so smooth? Because in my mind, I think there's also something around deservability. If something is easy, then I haven't worked hard enough for it, so I don't deserve it. There is that. So my mind is also constantly trying to trick me and tell me that you haven't worked for this, so you don't deserve it. But I'm noticing, I'm witnessing and observing this, and trying to build a healthier relationship with deservability. And
yes, I'm receiving.
And receiving, yes, absolutely.
So here you are now with your banquet around you. And there's a hesitancy, but it's there in front of you with all these, with this, in this new experience, in this transition. So there's a couple of things I just wanted to draw your attention to. The first is on the physical side of things is firstly the control in terms of letting go. And when we think about the hemorrhoids, how that manifests in the physical as this obstacle to letting go of the stagnancy of holding on, and whether or not I can let go. Can I be me? Can I let go of this old stuff? Or should I hold on to it? There's a confusion. It's almost like that, isn't there? So there's a mirror there in the physical, but tied into that is, I just wanted to draw your attention to the beliefs that you're holding, even now as you're in this new transition, the judgment that's coming in for you. Do I deserve this? Is this real? Something's probably going to go wrong. There's a belief there that things can go wrong, so I can't quite relax.
Yeah.
A belief that, I still have to be wary, and I have to control things just in case. It's a bit like when you see something wild that has been caged, and the cage door opens, and it takes a while for that for that creature to be able to step out and fly or run, and it feels like that's sort of the picture that I'm looking at here. I don't know how that resonates with you.
No, that resonates so much. That's exactly where I am, and that's exactly how it feels. I can see what's out there. I can see the possibilities, but stepping into something new, it comes with a lot of fear and caution.
Yes, exactly, because there's the belief there that has been programmed into you from a very young age, is that I can't have too much. Everything comes with a cost. I'm not allowed to receive too much. I'm allowed to receive a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
So as we draw to the end here of this session, have you been able to connect those dots between the hemorrhoids and the reason for them being there? Is that sort of come together for you?
Yeah, I was aware of the physical aspects of it, as in what was causing it on a physiological level. Yeah, so that I was able to identify, and I've been working with that. Yeah, but it's also pretty literal, actually, the stagnation and the pressure. Yeah, because there is so much, because what I eat, and it's true for all of us, what we eat is also who we are. It's so much a part of our identity. So for me, also being unable to eat certain foods, which I have enjoyed and liked at a very young age, but my body is energetically not responding well to. So there is a paradox there that I struggle with. And also the pressure of, who am I if I don't eat this particular food?
Yeah.
So there's that. But no, there's been deep resonance and a recognition that I didn't have before. of how the stagnation that I have really been struggling with in various areas of my life, and the movement that I've been longing for, how that has also manifested as hemorrhoids, and how that has impacted my life and my choices and my decisions. Because I am in this phase of transition now, and I have made some movement, and this couldn't have come at a better time for me to also be able to see it in this way, because of where I am at this point.
Timing is always perfect, isn't it?
Yes, always.
And this is multi-layered. So there are always these, very many layers. But part of this process is this transition that you're in, that you've literally moved. And that hopefully will manifest as well into your body, that you can literally move in so many other ways in a more expansive way now, as you can release the past. You're becoming a new person.
Yeah, a new person, and also the person I am.
Well, becoming more of the person that you are, your authenticity starting to shine through, which may be that you become more expansive in the world.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see how those changes start to grow and develop in your life. Thank you so much for this conversation today.
I'm sure I'll find the words as the days go by. I'm very moved by this conversation and by the process. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, you'll find a lot more content on my Instagram account at thehealingpoint._. If you have a question you'd like to explore and are willing to take part in the podcast, you'll find all the information you need on my website, which is www.tracystevens.org/podcast. Thanks, and see you soon.